welcome to Revelations of a Delusional Knitter. I'm Angela, your host. This is episode 103, and it is, I really don't know, honestly, Monday, October 6th, 2014. I should have known that because my husband was home yesterday and he's at work today. So, anywho, welcome if you are new. If you are returning, I thank you as always, and either way, I hope you enjoy. You can find the show on iTunes and YouTube and the website delusionalknitter.com, and if you're on Ravelry, there's a Ravelry group, so come and join there as well. On to Week in Review. I had some, well, we get these all the time, but these two really, I guess I got stuck working extra shifts because what happens is 911 has to be staffed at all times. So if somebody calls in sick, sometimes people get stuck working another shift. So that happened twice because somebody was out sick. And then I had my 2 days off, and then I went back to work again, but I was just like, oh my god, get me out of here! So my last day, I was just like, I so had it with everything. And I had one woman who called up and said that her neighbors are having a loud party and they touch my personal things in the yard and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, wait, what? I'm like, so do they live in the same building as you? No, I have a house. Okay. So then I'm like, so what? A loud party, I get it. We'll send somebody out for that, but I'm trying to understand your personal items things. What did they touch of your stuff? Well, they moved my trash cans, and their cars are parked everywhere, all over my lawn. And I'm like, they're in your yard? Well, no, they're not in my yard. So she's just like bouncing back and forth and not making sense, which is typical. And then I'm like, okay, so that's fine. We'll tell them to keep it down and tell them to stop touching my trash cans. Okay, we'll tell them to keep it down and stop touching your trash cans. So now at this point, I'm like, how the bleep am I putting this over the radio, the trash can thing? So I said to her, ma'am, would you like the officer to come speak to you first? You can explain the trash barrel situation to them. Because I don't want to put this over the radio. This is crazy. And no, I don't want them to know that I called. You don't want your neighbors to know that you called. But you want us to tell them not to touch your trash barrels. Connect the dots here, people, right? I'm sure you're all following this train of thought. Her train doesn't have a conductor because it's just not following this path. So I said to her, okay, we can certainly do that, but you do understand if we tell them not to touch your trash cans, they're probably going to figure out who called. Oh my god. Whatever. So okay, ma'am, have a nice day. Hung up the phone. Yeah, those are the kind of phone calls I deal with. And another one was, this guy called. First of all, he couldn't really tell me where he was, because I'm not sure he was even saying the right street at first. So this takes like a minute and a half, 2 minutes to figure out the location that he's talking about. He calls 911. He started out the conversation with, though, I'm not sure it's an emergency. Okay, great. Okay. So then I finally figure out his location, and I go, okay, so what is happening there? Because now, we've wasted time with you giving me really bad directions, and now, okay, so what's going on? Well, there's a wheelchair in the middle of the road. Is it abandoned? Is there nobody around? Or is there somebody in it, and they're having problems and need assistance? Oh, I don't know. I saw them in the rearview mirror, but they were right in the middle of the road. Okay. Are they still in the middle of the road? Oh, I don't know. I'm 3 miles from there now. Wonderful. So I said to him, do you think they were perhaps crossing the road? Oh, I don't know. Okay. We'll have somebody go check it out. Bye-bye now. So I sent an officer out. There's no wheelchair there. There's nobody in a wheelchair there. Because they were probably crossing the road and got to the other side and went on their way. So, yeah, I don't know. Crazy trains with no conductors. I don't like boarding those trains. So, yes. Yeah, that sums up my week at work. So, the other thing, I had. It's funny because I live where I work is a city, and it's a small city, but it's a city. Where I live, though, we live next to 30 acres of conservation land, so it's a drastically different place. However, part of my property actually is in that city. Property line goes through. So, one day, it was since I last recorded, too. I'm at work. I, just got there. They're at a plaza that's right back there. And the state police had stopped somebody, and somebody ran out of the car behind the plaza. So we're assisting them, and over our radio I hear, oh, they want a dog because he ran into the woods. And I'm like, oh my God, that's my backyard. It's like, the guy's in my backyard. Yeah, it's crazy sometimes. And I can hear the sirens all the time from over there. Never hear them from this direction, which is my town. But yeah, silly. So anyway, with the woods, we have a lot of wildlife in our yard. And we had a very large bird in our yard that I was trying to figure out what it was, and I finally did. It's actually a great blue heron. It's a big bird. It looks like it's got to be like 3 feet tall when it stands up straight. And I caught it on camera the other day, so I'll insert a little clip of that here. So that's the massive bird that's been hanging around our yard. And I was wondering if it's going to fly south because it's getting chilly out. But I read somewhere that some of them winter up here. So we'll have to see if it sticks around. I was saying that to my husband when I looked it up. And I said, oh, some of them do winter up here. And he was like, oh, really? Maybe it'll stick around for the winter in the yard. And I was like, oh, I'm going to feel bad if it's winter. I'm going to be like throwing it sushi. So we'll see if we still have a heron. But it's been around for couple weeks now, and I keep seeing it, so that's pretty cool. And on to Revelations. So the Knitting Guild Association, I even have it wrong in my show notes. That's probably why I keep saying it wrong. The Knitting Guild Association Master Hand Knitter Program, Level 1. All I now have left is a couple of things of written work, but just one swatch that I have to do. I finished the mitten, and it came out pretty good. I'm still working on trying to figure out the best way to weave in the ends. And I don't know if I took it out again. I did the one around the thumb holes a couple of times already and wasn't terribly happy with it, so I pulled it out again. I think I might have finally figured it out, though, because it doesn't look like I have huge holes now. But that's the mitten, and it's all done. So now I just have that one other swatch and finish up the written work, and then I will be done with level 1. And the other things I've been knitting on, I haven't touched the February lady sweater since I recorded last. We did have a virtual knit night. That was a lot of fun. And I was knitting on my socks that whole time. And I got quite a bit done on those. So I'm almost up to the heels on my socks. Those are going very well. I haven't actually touched them since we did that virtual knit night because I've been knitting on my cowl that I'm designing, and I only have 12 rows left, I think. It's a lot of stitches because it's a big long infinity cowl. I did get, for the Loopy Academy projects, I did get yarn for the other 2 projects, and one is the sport weight. I got some Mad Tosh Sport in this lovely color, and I got some Lorna's laces worsted in this lovely color, and I have patterns picked out for those. I was gonna do, for the sport weight is a hat, and I'm gonna do, it's called the Star Anise hat, if I can find it, and it's gorgeous. This is by Svetlana Volkova, And I feel like I've butchered that name before. So I must have shown one of her patterns before on the Ravelry Patterns section. So that's that hat. And then for the worsted weight is a mitten project. I'm not a huge fan of mittens. So I'm going to do this one. And these are Donna's mittens. It's lovely beaded. I have beads that match that yarn already in my stash. So that's what I'm going to do for the mittens. I don't know why I don't like mittens. They're weird. I like to have all my fingers free. I don't like how mittens, your fingers are in there and you can't, like, you can spread them apart. But you know what I mean? They're kind of, like, it's almost like putting your hand in a sock. I don't know. I think it's kind of weird. Anywho, the other thing, I found a group recently that's called Spin a Shawl. And they do knit-alongs where you knit up a shawl out of your hand spun. And I thought, awesome, because I have this loop bump that I did for Tour de Fleece. I finally washed it and thwacked it because it was just sitting here. And I'm going to ball this up and do the shawl. I'll show you in 1 second. So that's my hand spun. And I have 400 yards here, so I have plenty for a shawl. It's gorgeous and sparkly. And the shawl pattern for this part of the knit along is, let me find it. Probably shouldn't have shut this off. Where is it? Moab. It's M-O-A-B shawl by Very Busy Monkey. And it's made so that it's a little adjustable depending on your yardage, which is great for hand spun. It looks like that. So I think that will work really well with that gradient yarn that I did. So that's really cool, and I have never knit with any of my hand spun. I have a basket full of hand spun. I've never knit with any of it, so that'll be the first time I knit with my hand spun. And that's it for Revelation. So now we're on to string theory, and it is Spinzilla week. Spinzilla started at midnight this morning. I was sitting here at 11, and I was like, oh, I can start in an hour. And then I was like, you know what though? You should probably just go to bed because you'll stay up all night. And then, you know, you'll wake up really late tomorrow. So just go to bed. So I did, and I started this morning on the Traveler. I'm spinning up this Into the World merino. In the colorway Follow the Butterflies. And I have another 4 ounces of a similar color that I'm going to spin up and then ply together. I just hope that I have enough bobbins. Didn't really think that one through. I did, but I was like in denial. I was like, it's fine. So, we'll see if I have any issues with bobbins. And then the other thing is the Spindle Mania group, which is for Turkish spindles, is having a little spin along that goes from today until the beginning of November. And for that, I started spinning up some more Into the World, but this is BFL on my Threads Through Time spindle, and I'm doing some ply on the fly. This time, though, I'm doing it really, really fine to get a really, really thin fingering weight. And yeah, because the single, that's the single. I had too much coffee today, can you tell? I had a cup right before I recorded. After I had my morning coffee already. I'll probably have another one when I'm done recording. Because I'm cold. I try to have tea. It's getting really chilly, and we live in New England, which means you don't turn the heat on until, like, it's snowing out. And I don't know why. Well, because we don't want to pay the bill. But we will sit here, like, miserable and not turn the heat on. Whatever. So I make tea, but for some reason I think, or I don't drink it as fast. I know I don't drink it as fast. Coffee seems to stay hotter longer than tea does. Like, tea, I'll get through half the cup. By the time I'm through half the cup, it's lukewarm. And then it's cold. Coffee never gets cold when I drink it. Well, usually not. So I'll drink more coffee, but then I'm all hopped up on caffeine. So that's string theory. And scrolls, I am going to put a book review in here. I haven't recorded it yet, but I'm going to review Sock Architecture from Cooperative Press, so I will insert that here. This is a review of Sock Architecture by Lara Neel. It's put out by Cooperative Press, and it's a very different book than I've seen for socks before. It does have several patterns in it, but it really, really goes into detail on how to construct heels and toes and get the right fit and the math involved, and really lays everything out for you. It's a really fabulous book. So the first thing that I like about it is that it's got clickable table of contents, so you can click right on the page where you want to go. It also has on each page the clickable table of contents link, so when you're on a page, if you want to bounce back to the table of contents, you can just click that button and do that. It's got an introduction from the author, and then it's got some history of knitting socks, and it goes into historically how they were knit, and different regions had different techniques and things like that, so that's very interesting. And then we have, this is an example of how detailed the book is. So for example, this is the gusseted afterthought heels step by step, so there's the text that goes with it, but then it's also got this section with photographs of all the different steps laid out and how the heel works. Really good. I mean, this is the closest thing you can get to like a video tutorial in book form. It's really cool. And so let's back up a little bit here. There's the history of knitting that I was just discussing. The next section is top-down socks, and then it's also got the same thing for toe-up socks. So chapter 3 is top-down socks, and it goes into all the different techniques laid out for each different section of the sock. So we have the cuffs and everything, we have how the sock is put together. Another thing I really liked about this book is that each section has this table here, and it goes into the different techniques and different methods for making heels and everything, and then it shows you here pros and cons that are kind of your own personal thing. So if you know that you don't like to do this, then you can pick a heel that doesn't do that particular thing. Or if you like to do this, then you can pick one that does do that. In addition to the techniques, it also tells you which patterns in the book use those techniques. So that's really cool. And then here again you can see how detailed it is. Here we're talking about the different heels, and it really goes into so much detail, as you can see just from me scrolling through, how much amazing detail goes into this book and how everything works. So that's just an example for top-down socks, and then there's a whole chapter on the toe-up socks that goes into the same amount of detail. And then there are 17 patterns in the book. And at the beginning it's also got information about, customizing fit and yarn amounts and gauge and everything like that for each type of sock. And another thing I liked is that there are many different patterns in here that are both variations. They're both top down and toe up, the same pattern. There are a few that are not, most likely because of the stitch pattern, I'm guessing, because if you flip it around and do it the other way, it's not going to look the same. But those ones, even if you prefer the other method, you probably still want to make it because they're really nice patterns. So here's an example of one top-down pattern. So it has, the actual pattern, but it's also got how you can work out custom sizing for this pattern and how to help you to actually make this one fit you perfectly if the numbers given aren't exactly what you want. And then there's the toe-up version of that same pattern right after it. So you can work it either way, or you can try it both ways and see which one you like. Some of the other patterns in here that I really liked, this one's my favorite. This is the Uncommon Dragon, and look at that. The stitch pattern actually goes right down the heel, that cool dragon scale looking stitch pattern. So I like this one a lot, and I'm definitely going to make this one. Another one that looks really cool is Bootstrap, and it's got this really cool garter stitch thing here that goes right over the heel, and it's got a different, you know, type of gusset kind of a thing going on. And that one looks really cool as well. And here's another one. This is a join, and as you can see here, this heel is very different than anything I've seen before. Looks like a very interesting heel technique to work right there. So then it's also got your typical resources and bibliography would help if I could speak English, abbreviations for the patterns, some special techniques that are used, some tips on working socks, in addition to the in-depth chapters that already went through many of the techniques and different ways to work the sock. So, and then we have our little table of contents link. We can go right back. So this I like too. You can click on the sock. It's got all the patterns laid out here right after the table of contents, and you can actually click right on whichever sock you want to make, and it'll go directly to that pattern. And the resources as well, you can click those links. So that is sock architecture in a nutshell for you. That's our book review for this week. The lovely people at Cooperative Press have offered one copy as a giveaway for podcast viewers, so I will put a thread up on the board for that. And it'll probably run for 10 days to 2 weeks, depending on when I record next, but I'll put that in the thread. So you can go hop on over there if you'd like to win a copy of this book. So that's our book review. And now we're on to Testaments. I found a new podcast, and it's Wolfe Farms. And Dawn and James also sell some products, like lotions and soaps and stuff. So when I saw that, and their October scent is candy corn, and it's 25% off, I ordered a couple of things. I was laughing this morning because I was in the shower, and I always use, you know, natural handmade soaps, and the one that I had in the shower was almost gone. There were like little chunks left in the soap dish, so I'm in the shower, and I knew this was coming soon, and it came today, because I just ordered it. I'm in the shower, like, picking bits out of the soap dish, trying to lather them up, because I'm like, I don't want to open another soap. I know this candy corn one is coming any day now. Luckily it arrived today, because tomorrow I will have a full bar of soap to use. But it smells delicious. It smells absolutely delicious. So I got the hand and body lotion. And this is sunflower seed oil it's made with. And it's really cool because I can't stand greasy. And this is not greasy at all. Not at all. I have a real thing with that. And a lot of times when I use lotions even in the bathroom, I'll take a hand towel between my hands and wipe them off. So I don't like touching my mouse and my knitting and everything with greasy hands. I put this on and had absolutely no problem touching my mouse right afterwards. It absorbed right in, and it wasn't greasy at all. And the scent is awesome. It smells so good. So I got that, and I got a soap that I'm so happy about. And I got a lip balm that's in there. And they sent little Werthers, one of my favorite candies, and a little sample of pomegranate soap, which is another one of my favorite flavors. That was their scent for last month. So I'm all set now with my candy corn stuff, and yeah, it smells. I can still smell it. I want to like lick my hand. So go check them out if you like those kind of things. I think most of us knitters do, like those lotions and soaps and scenties and lip balms. Who doesn't? And their podcast is excellent, and they're very, very funny. Hair. So I still have some designing to do. The cowl is almost done. I think it's on schedule. I thought it would be out mid-October. So I only have 12 rows left, which isn't a lot of knitting. And then I'll have to block it, wash it and block it, and get photos. But the pattern's all written up and done. So that's all set. Once I can plop photos in there, then it will be published. And then I was going to do a little knit along on the Ravelry group for that. Loopy Academy, I already showed you the rest of my projects for that, and that goes through the end of December. The other thing I found that I'm waiting for is, I've heard Laura from the Knit Girls talk about this a lot, so I was like, what is this? I have to check this out. It's the Harry Potter House Cup. The Ravelry group is Hogwarts at Ravelry, and the next sorting is taking place October 18th. So once the sorting happens, if you're familiar with Harry Potter, you understand what I'm talking about. If not, sorry, but I don't have time to explain all of that. So you get sorted into a house after this, and then you can start playing the game and collecting points for your house and all that stuff. Very similar to the Harry Potter books, and it's all themed around Harry Potter. It's very fun. The moderators make it really fun with the challenges and everything, and the way they word things, very much like the books. It's very funny. So waiting for that. Each rotation is like 5 or 6 weeks, so once that sorting takes place, then it will go on for like 6 weeks or something, and then you can start all over again and continue to play. They also have it so if you're waiting to be sorted, if you miss the sorting, you can still participate to some extent. You can't participate for the houses, but you can participate like on your own and accumulate some points that will then follow you once you get sorted for the next one. Go read they have it all documented and it's all explained. So if you're really interested, go and read it yourself, and then it will make more sense probably. Seasonal Sock Center Knit-Along. The current session is on until December 20th, and then we'll have another drawing for more prizes on the Ravelry board for my podcast. You can enter your socks. And there's no real qualifying things for this one. It's just fall. If you have fall colored yarn or a fall pattern, that's great, but you don't have to. And now we're on to Ravelry Patterns. I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute. That's what happens when you have too much caffeine. One of the police officers said the funniest thing the other day at work. We have a lot of drug overdoses. And he said, I could just hear him out back, and he was like, so what exactly is too much of a dosage of heroin? Because I'm pretty sure it's not prescribed and you're not supposed to take it at all. So what's overdose? How much is over the prescribed or recommended amount? I was cracking up. I was like, yeah, right? Too much caffeine, that's why I thought of that. Okay, I have Against All Odds by Isabel Kramer, and she's the one that did Ravello, that sweater I just finished. I love all of her sweaters, every single one. I don't know what it is about them, but I love her sweater designs. So that one is Against All Odds, and it's also a fingering weight sweater with some color work, and that one is $6.33 US. Because she's not in the U.S. I actually forget where she's from. The next one is the Halloween Fair Isle Scarf by Susie Stitches. And I don't know that I'd ever knit this, because it's insanely large colorwork project, but it's really cool looking. Check that out. Awesome. I love Halloween, so anything Halloween is awesome. That's really cool. And then the other one is Patch by Susan Claudino. And this takes like worsted weight scraps. I was going to see if I could do it in fingering weight because I don't have a lot of worsted weight scraps around. Look at that. It's so cute. So in worsted weight, it's like 10.5 inches tall. So yeah, I was wondering if I could do it in like fingering weight. And then just have a smaller one for my desk or something. And then I was thinking, oh geez, that's in worsted. Fingering weight might be really difficult, it might be really small. Then I remembered that I have knit this. I was like, I don't think you'll have a problem. The tiny baby bunny I have knit, that's like the size of a quarter. Look, he doesn't even sit upright. Again, I had too much caffeine. Look at that, that's ridiculous. So, yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure you could do it if you tried. So those are your Ravelry patterns. Now we're on to Delusional Jabber. And I don't have a whole lot. I'm still reading Allegiant by Veronica Roth. I did find, I forgot to put the link in here, there's a book group on Ravelry, and they read a book a month. And initially when I saw it, I was thinking, I don't know, they probably don't read the kind of things that I read or anything. Excuse me. Then I went and looked. They totally do. A lot of the books are like sci-fi books. Like one for like next year, because they already had all the ones for next year picked out. I think one was I, Robot by Isaac Asimov, and I was like, okay, I'm in. So that's pretty cool, and I think I'm going to try and keep up with them, because I also like, I don't always have to read like sci-fi and fantasy, because I read the cozy mysteries and stuff, and I can read other things, and I do like being exposed to other things, so I think it will be a lot of fun to follow their list and also be able to discuss the books with other knitters who enjoy to read. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'll put the link in the show notes. I forgot, like I said, I forgot to put the link in here, and I forget what the name of it is off the top of my head. So that's reading. And for TV, I believe I'm caught up on Doctor Who, because my day off yesterday I did not feel very good at all, and I had a really bad headache. So in the afternoon, that just kept getting progressively worse all day. So in the afternoon, I was finally like, that's it. And I took some Excedrin, and I went and sat on the couch, and I watched a couple episodes of Doctor Who, so I think I'm caught up on that. There might be one episode. And then the Goldbergs, I got caught up on that funny show from like the 80s, or 70s, actually, probably more like the 70s. But that's when I grew up, so it just cracks me up, because they have all this stuff that I remember as a kid. It's really funny. I think it's the 80s, actually, because I was born in late 70s, so I really grew up in the 80s. And I think that's it for this episode. So these shawls should be coming out soon. Go put your socks in for the seasonal sock center knit along. You still have until December. But it's a chat thread, so you can post in progress pictures and stuff. It's Spinzilla. So if you're a spinner, I hope you're having fun spinning. Even if you're not participating in Spinzilla, you can still be there in spirit and spin a lot this week. And yeah, I think that's it for this episode. So I'm going to go do what I probably shouldn't and make another cup of coffee and finish this video and do the book review so I can record that and get that in. And that's it. So thanks for joining me, and happy knitting and spinning.